So I'm here today with Nigel. I've known Nigel for how long now? It's been a few years.
5 years, maybe 4 years. Like
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. And Nigel helps busy professionals transform their health, their body, their lifestyle. And I'm sure Nigel will go into it a little with more clarity and a lot better than I did. So Nigel, if you want to go into kind of really what you do, who you help, so give the listeners and the watchers kind of understanding where you're coming from.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Yeah. So basically, I work with typically time poor, busy professionals, males and females over the age of 40 plus. I fit into that category. So it's a niche I know very well. Usually they've got kids, relationships, careers, professions, business owners. They find themselves, they've scaled all that aspect of their life, the family, the career, and they've lost they're out of whack. They've lost sync with their self-care. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what I classify that as, a self-care sort of regime, if you like. The mindfulness, the sort of mindset, the health and the relationship between the two. So their physical appearance, their health, their well-being. And like I say, I categorize that as a self-care sort of approach. And I know that resonates with the audience that I work with, the niche. And it's something that I help sort of recalibrate and craft, and I like that word. I've been using it quite frequently. Craft something for them. So you talk about bespoke, personalized, but it really is crafting something around their personal and professional commitments and making it manageable, but more importantly, suited and bespoke and crafted for them rather than this one size fits all. And I think that's where they've come from. They've come from all this baggage. They're laden down with all this overwhelm, and they're looking for something that, it's probably come from the wrong angle for them. And so therefore it's just a short-term quick fix, not sustainable, and more often than not just creates a lot more overwhelm and pressure on them, and short-term fixes, short-term outcomes, and it drives that lack of following through, because they just think, what's the point? And the thing is, it's the only aspect in their life where they have that approach. In business, they genuinely and generally own that domain and that space. Their kids, their family, their relationships are on point to a certain degree, but maybe they're not showing up in certain aspects to the level. And it's about reaching that potential, and we all can relate to that, no matter who we are.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we start spending more time in those areas, not just the areas that most people spend when they're looking to improve their health or become healthy and fitter, or whatever it may be, or lose some weight, and start looking at the underpinning and real deep reasons why they are where they're at, whether that is with their stress levels, whether it's with overwhelm, career, whether that's poor sleep, or just through a general long-term misunderstanding around food. I think we'll have, like you say, and I like the whole bespoke thing that you spoke about, and using the word crafted, because you're trying to create a deeper experience and understanding for that individual to then, because inevitably you want these people to go away on themselves at some point and do it themselves. And I think done well, you'll have a profound effect on that individual, don't you? But then you also have a profound effect on the immediate people around them, like their kids, their partner. Because if they can see mom and dad eating a particular way, more energetic, or doing some sort of exercise consistently, they're going, oh, well, that's the norm. That's just like, that's what you do. You know what I mean? So
no, the empowered aspect is what I class. Well, that's what my program's called, the empowered professional. It's about empowering them. It's a bit like a lot of the clients that I work with. They might have come across some sort of business consultants that either worked on their business or they've seen operate. And again, going back to that craft and bespoke approach, blueprint, have really sort of put their knowledge and their understanding as a subject matter expert into that business or into their occupation or into the field or career that they work in, and seeing the impact of that to become more empowered. And ultimately that empowered aspect is what I try and encourage my clients to sort of embrace. Is this is not just a short-term solution. This is about educating and evolving, moving forward, so that I am the last solution that they look to go and pursue. They hit the nail on the head with me, they move forward with me, and then they're left to their own devices. In that sense of, it's sustainable, it's educational, they evolve, they learn, they change their habits, and that then impacts how they show up as a businessman or a businesswoman within their career, how they impact their relationships with their children. Like, a lot of clients that I work with recite how it impacts their relationships significantly more than they envisaged. And one of my clients who I did a testimonial with, a video, and we recorded that and put it out onto social media, he came up with a really good analogy of, when you're on an airplane and you're having the air hostesses sort of inform you of in-flight, emergency procedures. They say, put your mask on before you put your children's mask on. And that's the reality of it is, you need to put yourself first for you to then be the best version of you. And that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of the clients I work with, they find it difficult to prioritize themselves. So they feel guilty there. They feel like they have no time because they give it to other people. But I try and push back on that and say, listen, it's not about being selfish. Look at it as a different perspective. It's about you being your best version of yourself, prioritizing you and your self-care on a simple level, and let that just embrace everyone else around you. Let that sort of overwhelm you. And that's, they find it difficult, mate. They find it difficult because they've grooved that rut for so long. The time, intensity, and duration that they've spent down that wrong path, and they've reinforced that. It's hard for them to be wobbled off that. It's hard. It's hard.
Absolutely. And I just love and I think the reason why we resonate and have stayed in contact is because we love that bespoke and trying to help people at the core individual level. And it is difficult for a lot of people, I think, to go, oh, you want me just to think about me? Like, especially with people who have children, they might be looking after a family member, they have a business and all these things. And like, I want you to think about you, because everything else just falls away. Everything falls down. Your own health falls down, as you are starting to see. And your relationships and your ability to focus and get things done starts to fall away. So we need to like make sure that you are the priority, particularly in the mornings and particular days, times of the day where we can get you, looking after yourself. And I love that analogy of the it being in the airplane and the mask and everything. I heard one, God, it must have been some years ago, like, the leader of the pack, where it's the lioness, her first instinct in the morning isn't her cubs. It is of herself, because she knows if she is fed, she can look after them. And
that's a very primitive way of looking at it. But sometimes you probably agree with me on this, is primitive is always, like, we're so far removed from our primitive ways. This sort of technology and the lifestyle that we now, it's pulled us and skewed us in terms of the rational, non-emotional response. But what's our innate response? Survival. We've got to look after ourselves to then provide for our family. And it's not selfish. It needs to be shifted. It's a massive mindset issue. Like, I come off a phone call prior to this one, and a busy professional I spoke to, she said, I just feel guilty. I just feel guilty when I don't put. I'm like, it's baffling, and I understand it and I can appreciate it, but she's saying that she doesn't value her own skin. She doesn't like what she sees. Look back at her in the mirror. All this, it sounds cliche, but it's a common thing that I come across. And the reality of it is, she knows she needs to do something about it, but she's not prepared to put herself first. So then how can someone like me or you help her? Do you know what I mean? If she's not prepared, and that's the thing, you know. I always say, is this for you? Are you prepared to put yourself first and not feel guilty and not resent spending time on yourself? And a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complete shift, because most people, you know, you're telling them, I don't want you to wake up and look at your emails. I don't want you to scroll through Facebook and put your attention to other people. I don't want you to get wrapped up into something. I just want you getting wrapped up in you, you know, and it can be a big shift. So yeah, I completely understand it. And you know, I love all that, the primitive stuff. If we can take people back to how we were eating thousands of years ago, I think you would find that a lot of disease and a lot of issues, ailments that we're facing now wouldn't be around as well. And yeah, sure, it had its shortcomings as well, living in caves. But us foraging and hunting, you know, is just so powerful, particularly when you start talking to people about it and start opening their eyes to it. What I wanted to, before we get into the main bulk of what we're talking about today, is I wanted to give some value straight off the bat. And if there are three, and thinking about the kind of people that we work with, they're busy, they're highly stressed, they've got a lot going on, but they want to be healthier, they want to be a better role model. Is there three kind of things that you feel that someone could implement into their lifestyle and routine without too much resistance, without going, oh my God, well, I'd love to do that, but I just don't know if I'll be able to do it?
Yeah. The sort of the three main things that I would say, if the resistance is money or time, then I'm going to trump that by giving you these three things. It'll always come down to energy, though. How much energy you want to put into anything, like it is in anything in life. But the first thing is improvement of sleep is a massive thing. So how can we improve sleep? And that's really trying to create a particular time frame in which you would go to bed and wake, and make that as consistent as you can, and be disciplined with the quality of sleep. A lot of people struggle to manage sleep. Their sleep sort of what's the word I'm trying to think of? Their sleep hygiene is the technical term for it. There's quality of sleep, and what they do to make that as restorative as they can is try and make a consistent time when you're going to bed and when you're waking up, and be disciplined with that. So that's not going to take no more time, no more money. It's just energy. The second thing is, can we move more without it being sort of on a basic level, without it being structured, as in going to the gym? Can we just move more, take those options throughout the day to take the flight of stairs rather than the sort of escalator or elevator or lift or whatever, and be more accountable for our steps? So just move more. Our total daily energy expenditure in terms of calories burnt, can we up that by being more active on a very sort of conscious but not structured level? So I'm not expecting them to go to the gym or take part in sort of structured exercise, but just be more accountable for their steps. And then the other thing is being more mindful of the food that they consume. So can they audit? We all have limited knowledge in terms of nutrition, but we're all aware of the basics of 5 fruit and vegetables a day. So can we do that? Can we tick those off? Can we consume 5, portions of fruit and vegetable a day? So even my kids are aware of it. They say, Daddy, I've had 4 pieces of fruit and vegetable today. I said, let's have a 5th one before we go to bed. They're aware of it. Simple. Do you know what I mean? 5 fruit and vegetables a day, because a lot of people will not audit what they put in their mouth, and they'll just go into that sort of reactive mode of stress eating, or I'm hungry now, let's just eat on the go. I'm not asking them to structure or count calories. I'm asking to have 5 fruit and veg a day.
Yeah. It's just bringing that awareness up, isn't it? Like as soon as you start bringing the awareness up, you start making considerable changes without having, like you say, to take up any more time or any more energy. People just aren't, a lot of people, should I say, just aren't aware. And we hear it quite frequently. We'll hear someone we're working with new, they might say, oh, I eat pretty well. And we'll say, well, what does that look like? And they can't tell you,
No. Or it's not that well. It's yeah.
So bringing up someone's awareness is that first step. And, it might be walking into, a supermarket on their lunch break and just having that moment where they are just like, what's the better option here? And just putting something back down and picking something else up, can be massive. And I love those points because, they don't take any energy up. They don't take any more time up. And they create the foundation to long-term progress, don't they?
Yeah.
I literally just got off a phone call again, just similar to you, to a client, and I literally talked 45 minutes about sleep. And it was literally at the end of the call, she was like, do you want me to do anything else? And this is an individual that is highly motivated, got a lot going on, high stress about. They're doing multiple things around work. There's no way on earth that I wanted to start thinking about exercise or you're tracking calories and macros and all sorts of things. I just wanted them to get better sleep, and their sleep was poor, like really poor. Like they're not sleeping well at all. It's sporadic. So we talk 45 minutes about sleep, and I know for a fact if we can implement and help her implement those things with her sleep, she's going to have the springboard and the foundations to build from. So it's I completely agree, man. It's one that is overlooked. It's one of those, really can't be that easy. Like, well, you don't know until you do it.
No, exactly.
So the main conversation I wanted to have with you today, Nigel, was really having worked in this industry for God knows how long now, and just wanting it's deep within us, the innate want to help people. To talk about why do some people seem to change and get results and make a difference to their health and again the people around them because of that, and why do some people it just passes them by and they just never seem to change? And I know that's quite a big statement to ask you, a question to ask you, and it could go all sorts of ways, but thinking of the people that we do help, why do you think some people do change in the end and some people don't?
Yeah, it's definitely a deep sort of answer needed on that, in terms of it can be explored in different avenues. A couple of things that I've sort of picked up on with my time with different clients and bearing in mind that the principles and approach and the science behind what I do, my application, and it's validated against all these clients that I work with, you still get varying success. So the only thing that's different is the personality and the makeup of that individual. So from individual to individual, there will always be different outcomes, but and people's stickability, if you like, and following through. One of the things, obviously, so there's a deep sort of psychological reasoning there. And I think one of the things is, I think it comes down to motivation. And the motivation, there's two types of motivation from my experience. And this is the pain that you're currently in, and then the vision is the other one. So let me put my perspective on that. So pain is what I class as stick motivated, and then vision is more carrot motivated. So what I mean by that is, as a painful situation that someone's experiencing, they're motivated to remove themselves from that. So I call that as a stick motivation. So they're literally motivating themselves because they're experiencing and they're surrounded by pain, whatever that may be. I don't mean necessarily physically. They might not like where they're currently sat. Their situation, their routine, those rituals, those habits that they're in are not serving them, and they're currently feeling stuck in this rut and they want to change. And that's a stick motivated reason to change. When they move from that pain, whether it's only a small percentage, gain weight, gain more energy, their motivation and their pain drops because they're actually moving away from that pain. So their chances of them succeeding is very slim compared to someone who is carrot motivated, or in this case, has a vision in front of them of who they want to be and what that looks like. You've got a clear vision, a clear outcome, a clear destination. And it's a bit like a carrot on the end of a stick with a donkey following it. Rather than being beaten by a stick, moving away from this pain.
Yeah.
Moving towards a vision, a goal, an objective. And I think those who have that differentiation in terms of motive, I think that's the common denominator. So I look at one particular client, Jane. I won't mention her full name, but she's one of her clients. I've put her on, she's been on social media. You probably so if you wanted to go to that level. But Jane she came to me with a clear goal. And I went, wow. She wasn't talking about what she didn't like about herself. She wasn't talking about what was holding her back. She talked about what she wanted to be. And she divulged that to me straight away. And I want you to be the person who helps me.
Yeah.
And we did. Then you got a lot of my clients, or a lot of clients that I come across, they really will struggle to clear their view of where they are and create this clear, I call it a utopia of where they want to be, this goal, this destination. And they're really stuck in that pain. So when I do an exercise with them, okay, describe to me 3 to 6 months now, where would you want to be? They're describing themselves how they want to be with what they don't like about themselves now, not actually clearly marking down what they want to achieve. So they're going, in 3 to 6 months, I want to look like what's in the mirror, but because I don't like this muffin top, or I don't like this extra weight that I carry, this stuff. And they're talking about the things that they don't like, not necessarily what they want to be.
Yeah.
So we're referencing this pain that they're in. And as soon as they start to see success, that motivation, that motive becomes less and less and less. Therefore, their ability to push on is less robust. Follow through. But if you've got a clear vision and you're working towards that with tangible goals, KPIs, targets in place, I think that's the difference.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I think that really resonates. And like, I know for a fact that, if you're looking for something, an outcome such as a wedding coming up, or a doctor has turned round and said, look, you need to lose some weight, you need to address something, or you've got a target weight that you just want to hit, or something like that, or a pair of trousers or a dress that you want to get into and feel good in. That's great. That's brilliant. But like you said, once you get to those things, where do you go from there?
That for me is just it's horrible to hear someone say that. Like, I would never say I want to be for a particular time frame. I want to be for this wedding. Again, another call I can reference. I've got a holiday coming up and a wedding. I want to be in the best shape I can. I'm like, such a shit excuse or shit reason to get in shape. It is. You know what I mean? Like, it's painful to hear that people still think like that. Because when they get there, where next? Yeah.
Well, then you're naturally having to look for the next thing, and there's never going to be such a huge thing like that again and again and again to get you through life, to keep hitting these markers.
How tiring is that? How tiring is that to pick yourself up and go again, How about do it the right way and just maintain it?
Yeah, absolutely. How about you just create habits and routines and become the person that you want to be? And you are, like, your characteristics, your beliefs, all these things that you're doing are aligned with that. And again, that is so much more powerful, because then you're going to have such a more powerful impact on the immediate people around you. And I can resonate with that myself. I know when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and I wanted to, or felt like I wanted to look a particular way, like a bit of a blokey thing to do, but we want to go on holiday, or I wanted to do a photo shoot. There's nothing wrong with those things. I get people that come to me and say, I want to do a photo shoot, and that's great, whatever. But, I was always doing something for something to get to somewhere. And people ask me now, what do you train? How do you stay consistent with your training? And why do you eat a specific way? And it's quite complex in kind of question, because it's like, well, that's just something I do because it just aligns with me. To train isn't something I've got to go and train today. It's like, oh, I get an opportunity to train today. That's great. And I feel better for that, because it's a part of me. Like that training is a part of what I do. It's a part of me, my identity, the way that I eat, the way that I sleep, the way that I just function from day to day is just how I am. And I think people start realizing that,
yeah,
the whole thing opens up for you then, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. I just even though I work within this profession and I'm ex-military and I've got these standards, and even in the military there weren't people that had those standards. There were people that were still unfit and that would fail their fitness test that was done annually or 6 months, and you know, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, you know, you're in the military, you're meant to be an elite fighting force. That wasn't always the case. And the reality, you know, the civilians and friends who knew me thought, you know, when I told them stories, they were like, you wouldn't think that as an outside. And the reality of it is that's in, you know, an occupation within the military where you have an annual fitness test. You have to, a bit like the Air Force, a bit like the Army, sort of fire service and the police service, you had to have a fitness test, same as in the military. I don't know if they still have that in the police or the fire service. But the reality of it is, you know, that's your occupation, and your life, your job can be, if you failed the fitness test multiple times, you could potentially be kicked out of the military because you're just not fit for service. I found that difficult to wrap my head around. I also find it difficult how people like do not prioritize, who don't train. Like, I don't understand that. I'm being brutally honest here. I do not understand the concept how people who don't go a week or 2 days without exercise, I don't get it. I just don't get why people don't.
And when we talk, Nigel, when we talk about exercise, we're talking about exercise at any level, like depending on that individual. We're not saying you can't understand if you don't go to the gym, but we don't understand, you know, there's got to be some sort of clarity here where, like, if you're sedentary, your body, you're getting your body to do something that it's not made to do, it shouldn't be doing. You know, so exercise, when we say exercise, that for someone that might be a 5-minute walk down the road and back.
It's just that it's all relative to the individual, but I will not, you know, I'm thinking of people now, visualizing people who I know through conversations, and I know their lifestyle will never get their heart rate up a certain percentage than just a resting heart rate. And obviously on a scientific level, the benefits of increasing your heart rate, sustained heart rate for half an hour, 3 times a week, is the sort of bare minimum, like your 5 a day, fruit and vegetable. There's people I know who don't do that, and it just baffles me. It just baffles me. And I say that not as I don't know, not that I have no empathy and compassion for people. I just don't understand why they don't have that desire and the need to do that. What's pulling them back? And again, I don't know, maybe I need to be more compassionate and empathetic for individuals, and I try my best to be, but I want to inspire and motivate people. And I say, come with me and I'll show you the way, because I've always been like that. But why have I been like that? And I think the reason why is I just value what it gives me. I value, and when I don't have it, and when I've went for whatever reason, I get back into it. And it's created such a routine and ritual in my life: exercise, nutrition, well-being. It just gives me more than it takes away. It's as simple as that. It just gives more. It's like an investment. With a great return on your interest. That's compounded, has a compound effect. The more you do it, the more you get from it. And then it gets to this stage where I will make the right option without me even thinking about it, because I'm just so grooved into it. I'll take myself to the gym. I'm like, I don't even know I've got here. And I'm not feeling motivated. And I'm not relying on motivation. I don't feel motivated. There's times, mate, I get to the gym and I go, Jesus Christ. But I say to myself, 10 minutes in, I'll be in a different physiological mindset. I go for a nice warm up. I don't set any sort of numbers in place. I just know that mindset and physiologically in 10 minutes, I'll be in a different headspace and a different energy level. And then next thing you know, I'm loving it.
Absolutely.
When I walk to the fridge, when I feel hungry, I default to fruit, vegetables, protein. Yes, do I have crisps? Do I have biscuits, cheesecakes? Of course I do. But I audit that. And I try and say, listen, gang, you come with me and I'll teach you this. It's
Absolutely.
it's yeah.
No, I love it. It's a lot doing things that are aligning with your values and your, the person that you are, and that it all makes real sense. I think it's great that people have goals. Goals are good. Goals get you somewhere.
Yeah.
It, like you're saying, it then needs to go deeper. It needs to go to a point where you need to be creating something that is aligning with the person that you are, because then it sticks. Then it sticks with you, and then you are doing things without thinking. Like you say, you go to the gym. How did I get here? Why am I eating this food? I don't know. I'm just eating it now. You just become with that thing.
All the heavy lifting and the overwhelm and the confusion and which way to turn. I don't overthink it. I always think it's better done than perfect. Perfect can come later, and perfect never really comes anyway.
No,
I'm a perfectionist. I don't know if it's, but that's probably my downfall. Is I want things to be perfect, and that can create anxiety and overwhelm in me, because I think, oh, bloody hell, and I procrastinate and overthink about things. And then sometimes I just take a breath and go, right, just get it done.
Yeah.
Just get it done. Perfect can come later. And usually then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And and it's not about being perfect, is it, at all? Because what is that? It doesn't really exist, does it?
Exactly.
It's just a term that we use, but it's about making those subtle changes, moving the needle forwards. And I've just finished actually reading Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read it. I really liked it. It's quite heavy. I think I'm going to have to go back through it again. But no, I really enjoyed it. And it, one of the big things in there, James talks about just that 1% day, just literally 1%, and that 1% a day in a year, over a year, will complete you. You'll be a different person in all aspects of your life. But the real interesting thing with that was, if you didn't try and do the right things and do the 1% things better every day, you actually decrease. So you don't just stay the same, you actually get worse. Which was I was just like, that kind of formulated, and I could see that. I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. So if we don't do anything, if we don't try and just do 1% better every day, we actually we'll be in a worse position than in a year's time.
If you're not moving forward, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
But adversely to that, I think, like, I can be my own worst critic. I've got triggers from my dad as a father, were very strict, very by the book, do as I say, not as I do type of thing. And I still sort of have triggers that I know as a child I obviously developed, and sort of coping mechanisms are not necessarily always good. And I always roll with this hard line that the voice of my dad sort of interjects and makes me have triggers based on that. And one of the things I always try and pull back from is, striving is not great. Striving at all costs is not great. It's all right having motivation, being driven, but at what cost? And that's where I sort of, I'll go forward, but then I'll really say to myself, and one of the analogies I use is, you've got a buoy on bobbing across the surface of the sea, and then you've got the anchor that's fixing it. So it'll bob up and down to the stormy, choppy waters. But how far that buoy will vary from its fixings, the anchor, the more stormier the water is, the more tendency that is to vary from its values, and that the anchor is its values. So when things get going tough in life, business, whatever, how far am I deviating from my values? And then I recalibrate that, and I go, hang on a minute, it's pulling me away. So one thing I do value is my time to go to the gym, to eat well, to train, exercise, mindfulness, meditation. If there's anything in my life that pulls me away from that, I try and refocus, go in on my thoughts, rather than chasing, a numerical target, financial target, or I don't know, whatever it may be. I always go, right, this is me. This is Nigel. Forget about what anyone else is doing. Like, comparison is the root of all, or the thief of joy.
That's right.
And I find that sometimes, you can look on social media, you can look at people within our industry, you can look at people within, any walk of life, and you go, why don't I look like that? Why don't I act like that? Why am I not successful like that? You are, but to a different level. And their values are completely different to your values. Plus, they might not be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reality of it is, I think that's where your authenticity, you being authentic to you and what you value is key.
Yeah.
And I think the answer to going back to your question is, why do some people have success and follow through things? I think one of the things is they might not value that. They might think they want that, but actually, do they want it?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't boil down to pain or vision. It's actually, do they actually want it enough? Or are they just kidding themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose it's up to us as well as coaches and mentors, whatever you want us to call us, teachers, or whatever it is can we help them get some clarity around that and get to stop and opportunities to think, what is it? Who am I? What does success look like to me? What does it truly? It's not the cars, it's not the house, it's the person. Who does that look like? How do I want to be? And I think, you've covered it really, really well. And I think having goals and outcomes is important in all different parts of your life, whether it's with business, whether it's with family or your health. But it's always comes down to aligning with your values and aligning with your own beliefs. And that is where that consistent drive, and clarity and focus will always be. Yeah,
exactly. Which is why comparison to others, which I'll be honest, this is probably a call for another conversation for another call. But there's times in my life I've always compared myself to others, or times where I found myself doing that. And where your thoughts go, your energy goes.
Yeah.
And there's been times when I've suffered with anxiety, depression based on comparison. And I think just driving too hard at what cost, pulling me away from my values. But I think being aware is key. Being aware of, like you just said, that really is a great question to ask. An open-ended question is, what does success look like for you? Yeah. Because I tell you what, your answer will be completely different to my answer, and our neighbor, it's completely different. So, it's a powerful question to ask, and I think you'll get a lot from clients. I certainly get. I say the equivalent of that for me is, what does your 2.0 look like? Who is this? Who is this individual? 2.0. The latest, empowered, energized, more confident. Who is this individual? Describe that to me, and I get them to sort of paint that picture to me. And like I said, some of them really resist. Some of them can't. Some of them really can't. They're reluctant. They're reluctant to paint that picture. They don't. There's probably a lack of self-worth there, self-confidence.
Yeah. And it might be dragging up things that they don't want to go into, and at the end of the day, that's where growth is. That's where the clarity and the focus comes from. So. No, I really appreciate that, Nigel. I appreciate your time.
You too, bud.
And, I just hope that this kind of conversations is going to help and resonate with people. I'm sure they will. Yeah. What I want to do is, before we finish, is just where can people find you? Because I'm all about, I know we're in the same kind of space, if you will, with health and fitness, but I'm all up in that. The whole channel and the podcast and everything that I'm doing now is all about spreading a positive word and support for people. So where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you do?
So I think the best point of reference is probably Instagram. So it's at Nigel Wood Fitness. So Nigel Wood Fitness on Instagram. If you've got any questions, if you like the sound of what we spoke about, just fire us a DM and can take it from there. But I like this. I like this concept. I like the fact that I'm very open. I don't. I always like to say to my clients, I said, listen, if you can share with anybody your sort of weaknesses, your strengths, then no one's got anything on you, and you've got nothing to be scared of, and it's empowering. You know, no one's got any dirt on me or any issues that I don't mind, because I've told the world, I've put it out there. And I think once you do that, you can live, learn, and become empowered. You know, I don't fear judgment. I don't fear people, you know, questioning my opinion, because it literally is an opinion. And the reality of it is I'm authentic to my values, and that's all you can ask for. And I think when you're in line with who you want to be, I think you're bulletproof.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Nigel, thank you very much. That's been awesome. And I'm sure we'll have some more conversations like this moving forwards for sure.
Good man.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy. See you later, bud.